Hello, I have here the LEGO Icons Modular Natural History Museum. This has 4,014 pieces and it cost me $300 US. This has 7 standalone minifigures plus 2 statues, and it is built on a base plate and a half, so 32 studs deep and 48 studs wide, or the same amount of floor space or shelf space needed or table space needed by assembly square, or the size of 1.5 regular modular buildings. And it's also using up quite a lot of that base plate space, more I think than any of the modular buildings to date that I can think of off the top of my head, because it goes all the way back to just 3 studs away from the rear of it, and the main building itself is rectangular, so you've got this huge mass. It's a very efficient use of the airspace of 1.5 base plates there. You see they made it pretty clean all the way around, so you don't have a lot of weird different colors showing through. They have enough recolored pieces, and they took enough care to make sure that you wouldn't see attachments that are needed for inside details. Just looking around here though, you can see some variations in the color, both for the tan, the dark tan color. You got some darker bits, like down here, this is darker than this, and here you can see that's darker. So there's definitely still some inconsistency amongst Lego parts, which some people don't care about. Some people actually prefer that their Lego parts be as inconsistent as possible, that the quality control be as low as possible because it looks more realistic that way. I personally will never recommend that or never extol the value of quality control being poor. We pay a lot of money for this plastic. I want to see it be nice and consistent through the years like it used to be. I'm going to start with a look at details on the outside before I start peeling the layers back. Down at the ground level, there's a bench here that a couple people can sit on, and this is a mailbox. You got a letter there as well. Some birds that can be fed by somebody who's a fan of bird watching. And each of the sides has a similar flower box with a short wrought iron style, or kind of a Gothic style of fencing going along there, which is built pretty nicely and simply with just rounded end plates, and then they've got just some crossbow bolts going through there, and the flowers are done nicely. Got a little bit of variety in there, and again, each side has a statue as well with a little bit of print for the torso. The one on this side is male, the one on the other side is female. I like the small columns used for the edges of the windows, the taller windows here. You got the dark brown color for the surround for the 1x2x3 windows there, and a little bit of texture, a little bit of detail out here to give it a little bit of extra, just visual interest. They also brought in some of the masonry bricks in the olive green color. And speaking of olive green, I think that was probably the most controversial thing about this when it was first unveiled, was just how much olive green it has and how awkward that may have felt compared to some other possible choices they could have done, maybe more neutral choices they could have gone with for a natural history museum. I personally was also concerned about that. I thought that the color wasn't that good, but seeing it in person, it looks much better than it does in the pictures. I think there's enough other stuff going on. I think that the contrasts and complements with other colors and with both the vertical color blocking and also the horizontal lines going through there, I think it just helps to soften it all down pretty nicely. And like the level of detail in here in the entrance area is nice. It's not too much, it's not overdone, but I like it. It feels, I don't know, it feels approachable to me. It feels believable, just with the older styles of lamps up here, the specific way that these columns were built and the size of them, and in addition to the little bit of extra detail down at the base there, the handrails. You've got dark brown used as once again, the surround or the frame for the double door there, the more modern style of double door. And then coming over to the other side, like I said, similar thing on this side, but the wrought iron fence actually extends out just a little bit here to give space for a tree. So there's the other statue on that side. I don't like this little joint right there. It's just not the best look, but the rest of it is pretty good. This is nicely built up, and as you can see, it is flowering, and as usual, they go with the standard style, the classic style for the street lights outside. Looking up at the next level back here, you can see a banner that actually adds quite a lot to the look of this and takes away from potential issues of just boringness of it. It just gives you that splash of color, but not too much. It's not too bright. It's a little bit desaturated overall, which I think is a good thing, and it completely goes with the theme. You know, natural history museums do exactly that, just that way. Got some nice detailing around the roof. I'm not going to do the full roof just yet, but you know, pretty much same colors going through for this second level. And another banner on this side. These are just vinyl pieces. Behind there, you can find a window. So if you wanted to leave this off, you can, and you'll just have that consistent look going all the way through. It just won't look quite as exciting, but that might be a good thing depending upon what you're going for. Over on this side, you got the window washer's crane. Unfortunately, they don't give you options for posing this up and down. It can only be pretty much at this level. And if you want to swap it to the other side, they don't have the tie-ins on the other side. So you have to actually pull the pieces up and swap them around. All right, well, it looks like we're at the roof now. I'll do the back last, but this is relatively simple going around the side here. Like the build of this is, you know, there's just no doing to it. You know, it's just really straightforward. Just studs on top, put the parts there, and you're good. A little nano figure in between, but they do have the skylight. Skylights were introduced in a big way in the Modular series, what, almost a decade ago now. This is just using the newest version of a part that can provide that sort of shape and the large opening. It does use the standard size of 1 by 2 by 2 window glass pane elements in there, and those are just in clear. And Lego does mark it in their description of the set, the fact that these will let a lot of light in so you can actually see the exhibits. I find that to be patently untrue. You can barely see inside. This doesn't let in much light at all. You can see just a little bit if you actually look from the top, but it doesn't really do that much. The thought definitely counts though. It looks nice. You know, it's rounded off. This is really nice as well. The curator's office is actually behind here, and the shaping of it, I think, is nice from all the different angles and going between curved surfaces and flattened surfaces, doing some studs not on the grid construction to get the edges in here. That's all good. You can see some scuffing on the pieces, even though this was you know, a first production kit that did not get moved around a whole lot. It just came directly from the Lego store to me. Still, you know, there is an issue with large pieces getting scuffed up in a short amount of time. I like this too. Nice little detail here, but this portion of roof here is kind of flat and not the most interesting. But on the top, they've actually got the idea of interaction with the figures here in a bigger way than even usual. So a little telescope over here, and the curator's office is here. Unfortunately, doesn't have any safety railing on the side. The way to get up there is here. So this has a stairway going down there. You'll see that as I start to open stuff up and take the parts off. But you know, they would come up through here and walk over to their office here. And for us human beings, us huge figures, to get easier access in there, you just pull this out and you see the entire office. That's nice. It's not huge. It's cozy, but you know, it definitely has that old feel, that traditional feel, the feeling of somebody who's been occupying this space, or at least the job has been occupying this space, even if it's passed between different people for decades and decades and multiple generations. You know, I can almost smell old books in this space. You got the little typewriter there, a map, a small, I don't know if that's supposed to be an actual living plant over there, or just a I don't know, taxidermy terrarium, you know, something that's simulated like a model. Got a little statue back there and stuff, but that's just it. You know, it's a small space, can't do a whole lot in here, but it is charming. And like I said, here's a final look at the back. This just has a rear, like, employees access door. This is like a refuse bin here for unused materials from failed castings for setting up previous exhibits. And inside of this right now, I've got 3 pieces. So you've got the large bone there, and then these 2 pieces can be used together to hold the bone up to make it look like the little dog that's included with the set is trying to steal this away. So you can actually pose it on the front sidewalk just in the air and help it to look like the tiny little dog is grabbing this huge bone, and you got to chase it down as part of their little story effort. I also really like the end of this down pipe here with the suggestion of water that's been dripping down, and the suggestion that that water is helping to feed this single plant here, which is now flowering because, yeah, it gets that extra moisture. And yeah, this is a thin, small down pipe, but it has some banding along the way. So again, it doesn't look too boring. Okay, time to take a layer off. And I'm going to start with just the roof, which is right through to here. It comes off nice and easy. Opening this up for me is an interesting experience. It definitely doesn't match my expectations for a natural history museum and for a large, expensive Lego set for 2023 to 2024. There's just not a lot of stuff going on in here, though each individual exhibit itself is nice, like this little indication of the path of a rocket that is in, or a spacecraft that's in orbit across the Earth. So you got a little picture of the Americas there and the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. And then over here, a little representation of a rocket on a launch pad. So this is a celebration of space here, but then speaking of space, you got the other kind of space, and then you get to this, which is beautiful. This is fantastic, and it's nice and compact, and it just looks good in every possible way. To me, I'll just put a figure over there for the sake of scale. Unfortunately, with these types of floors, it's the one bad thing about having lots of studs for floors. It's difficult to get a figure to be posed in a diagonal way, so they're always going to be fairly on grid unless you have one foot up. But that's okay. I just love this orrery. It's showing the entire solar system there, and it's colorful. You don't want to do a whole lot of posing here. It doesn't move around or anything, but that's fine. Like, this is just a joy. It was a joy to build in the first place, and it's a joy to see now that it's done. As usual, each floor is very tall, so you really need to be looking down from above. But because there's so much open space here, that's not as much of an issue as it typically is with Lego interior spaces. I'm going to move us over to this corner. And that continues the celebration of space and space exploration with a certain classic Lego space reference here, which is pretty nice. And they're using the tan back there, which actually represents the old catalog photographs. It's not representing just the traditional crater base plates. I like that. It's a little bit of an in reference, an extra in reference there. Got a telescope, an old telescope up on the wall here, and then a certain 2-lobed asteroid model that's represented pretty nicely. It's got a good shape, and it also gives you access over here. It's blocked off right now, but that's the stairs that would take you up to the upper floor, the roof level, and that's for the curator only. They always try to do something different with the stairs, so the stairs are actually built like this with the 2-sided slope pieces, and then the whole thing is just rotated down like so, which makes for a nice look, nice and consistent, nice and clean, but has no studs to attach minifig feet. Now I'll shift you over to the opposite wing over here. Right here is the top of the Brachiosaurus fossil that is on the main floor, the ground floor, but it's so tall that it comes all the way up here. We'll see the rest of it once I take this level off. But I really like this spot and the way the head is off to one side. It's not centered in this opening here because it allows you to bring, especially a child figure, right down to its level and kind of get eye to eye with it. And I think that's just a really nice moment to capture in universe. You can also have, like a parent, suggestion of a parent figure there, just observing that as well. It's just a whole lot of goodness that I think is captured well for the imagination and also in model form. I think it's implemented well there. Sorry, it's difficult to get this to focus in that little dark area there, but the anchor on the wall represents human exploration and adventurous spirit. And then along the back wall in this corner is a lot more Lego being self-referential with their references to classic themes. So you've got the pirates there. That's a pretty good little build, very simple build for a pirate ship. You've got a reference to forestmen there. and then one to castle and the medieval times. Again, having a little bit of difficulty getting that to focus in there just right. Sorry about that, but I'm glad that they went all the way back to the original yellow castle just because it provides more color in this space. But I will say, I'm disappointed that this is the end of the entire floor. We've now covered everything, and most of it is related to human stuff, you know, which definitely, you know, is part of the experience of many natural history museums. I'd say the vast majority have some dedication to human history. We are part of nature, strictly speaking, but I would have liked to see more nature stuff in here, or more space stuff, just more dedication to things other than Lego sets, because you've got a Lego set right there. You could call that a Lego set, but I'm going to leave it alone. But you've got a whole wall of Lego sets over here. All right, got to be careful with that because you don't want to knock this out. Now you can take this out, and I will show you that separately. But first, let's look at everything in place. With a top-down view, I'll go ahead and rotate this around so you're looking at it from the front, and I will start you from the welcome area and the lobby. I'm assuming this museum is free and open to the public because there's no suggestion of access control or selling tickets, and I'm perfectly fine with that. This front desk doubles as the gift shop. So there's stuff down below and stuff on the walls that people can buy, and this is a little suggestion of an old school cash register. There's a slightly better look at it down at the ground level. Behind that, there are two more rooms, two small little rooms here. You've got a restroom, which is accessible from underneath these stairs that go up from the ground floor to the next floor up. It's got public access there, but you can just barely see. You've got some extra toilet paper there and a nice toilet bowl. On this side is a lab/workshop, but to get easier access to that, let's just pull this out. This is designed to be easily removed, and then you can see what's on the wall for the workshop side over here with the clock and a couple of bones or fossils or maybe castings. The restroom had the two spare toilet paper rolls there, and then here you can see the design of what's at the ground level. The toilet is actually excellent. It's a near perfect design, nice and compact, but looks really good. And then over here, I've got a little bit of pottery that's probably being restored, or maybe there was a casting made of it. And also the tiniest microscope, nice little builds used here. Microscope is looking at one of those printed pieces that was introduced, I think, last year with some amoebas. And this also has access to the back alleyway, and there's access for people to come into it from the wing on the right side, our right side of the museum. So over here in the prehistory wing, I like this space over here, although it has really good access, or plenty fine access, for figures to be posed along this side over here, including some little studs where their feet can be attached, and also around the back. But then along this aisle right here, like that's kind of a squeeze. You can just kind of just have somebody right up against one of the exhibits facing either direction. So it is a little bit cramped unexpectedly. However, of course, you can take this out. We'll look at this separately, but I do want to first cover the rest of the room there. Saber-tooth cat casting of a fossil there for its entire skull. That's actually a nice design. It's too bad you can't see it all that well, but you can see the big teeth there in the front. Another fossil over here, and this is the access, the employee, or yeah, I guess employee access only to the lab and workshop space. That is, well, you know, it's 2023 plus, it's now 2024, and so most Lego sets need to have poop in some way. So they got that in there. Even the designers themselves, I think, are not particularly proud of that, but they had to get in there. It's not actual poop. It's a fossil of poop, but still it's poop, because that's what we do in Lego these days. And then some eggs, probably some reproductions of suggestions of dinosaur eggs, and that's it for this space. Other than this, okay. So this is very nice. Brachiosaurus, officially, it's a small one. You know, if you think about the actual size of a Brachiosaurus, they get to what, almost 40 plus feet, almost 50 feet, something like that. So this is clearly not an adult one, but you know, you can look at it as a small one, and it's a perfectly fine build. I think that it's nice the way that it poses up. I appreciate that they brought in a little bit of foliage. You probably simulated foliage down there, and you can pose it a little bit interesting ways. You can have this outside. All in all, like this is good, and I appreciate even the stands, how little stand material that they actually show you, but it's realistic enough to how things would be set up in a museum. I like this a lot. This is great. A lot of people have asked, hey, can you take one of the older Lego sets that come with dinosaur fossils and put their fossils in here? Good luck, because this is much smaller than those. And already it's very cramped on one side, so maybe you can make something happen, but just don't expect it. All right, now we'll shift over to the final area over here. There's supposed to be a pottery exhibit right there, but somebody was a little clumsy and knocked it off, so you've got some terracotta that's been shattered on the ground there. Underneath the stairs, and these stairs are built the same as the ones up above, and you can move that out of the way just a little bit, but you can see there's a bench, so you can put a minifigure. Sorry, it's rather dark in there and difficult to get a focus, but there's a bench where you can put a figure or two. There's a donut there, or you could put a cookie there as well to represent a certain person who likes feeding cookies to the birds. And this is access to the restroom, so you could have people who are waiting for somebody who's in the restroom or waiting for access to it. You know, they're next in line. And then here's some more terracotta on display that's not been destroyed just yet, and a model of a volcano, assuming it represents something particular from history. This is a model showing the different layers of the Earth, you know, all the way through to its core, and more of the geological exhibits over here with a geode, crystal, and some stalagmites. And that is it. You've now seen the entirety of the interior for the small roof area, the upper floor, and the ground floor. Now we'll look at the figures. These are employees with the shared top between these two with the identification card on the front, and on the right is the curator who would have the office on the roof of the place. The prints here, I think, are good. They are executed well. They are produced well. And underneath, you can see some alternate faces. These are very important right here, especially because of the various things going on around the museum with the guests, between the dog trying to steal the casting and the pottery being knocked over and such, whereas the curator doesn't have to deal with any of that. So he's able to be more calm and or just happy. Here are a few patrons, and at first I thought this torso print was done really poorly, just had terrible opacity, but I think that the wave pattern there, the kind of sawtooth pattern, is intended to be tan. The color is actually tan, so I think it's actually done well, and really nice crispness with this one. I think all of these prints are looking pretty good to me. I could have used maybe a little bit more detail around the back of this one, but you also do get just a little bit in the way of some alternate expressions. Both of the expressions for the kids show a lot of excitement, which I think is particularly appropriate for the setting. And it's nice to see the elder here being able to either just enjoy or really, really enjoy and just be happy, you know, probably going into some memories or just appreciating the appreciation of the kid or of other folks in the space. And finally, the window washer with a suggestion of a hand squeegee in the hand. It's just one of those pneumatic tea pieces, and the little dog there on the right who might be trying to steal a fossil casting away. That's a ton of leftover spare pieces with some good stuff in there, some nice colors, some special parts that are really useful and nice to have as extras. Be sure to hit pause if you want to spend some time looking through these extensively. But I also want to point out this part here, which was a leftover. It almost drove me crazy until I found out that I was not the only person to have this as a leftover. We shouldn't have it as a leftover. It should not have been included as an extra, but seems to have just been a production mistake. So if you build this and you have one of those to spare, it's okay. Thinking about value, again, this was $300 US. It's 300 euros, 260 pounds UK, $390 Canadian. Again, over 4,000 pieces. There's a lot of bulk here. And I personally am firmly of the belief that most of the value of anything like this, any large build from Lego, is what it looks like from the outside, what it feels like to have it as a completed thing. The interior details have value while you're building it, but the number of people who go back and open up their modular buildings and just stare, just do this and just stare, just look for a while, is really, 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 really tiny. That is definitely, there's definitely value there to all those interior details. I appreciate all those interior details, and Lego keeps adding more and more and more details because we fans have been demanding it at various age levels. But overall, I want this right here, this, to be worth my money. Is it? As Lego goes, honestly, for this much stuff, and holding this in my hands and actually feeling how much weight there is here, how much mass there is here, and having gone through the build process, I don't think it's too bad. I really don't think it's too bad. Again, it looks so much better to me in person than it did in the pictures. I had issues with the color blocking. I had issues with the colors, but now seeing it here in front of me, it's a lot more classy than I thought. Would a different color have been better? For many people, absolutely, yes. Definitely look into the possibility. If you don't like what you see here, if you really don't like the olive, there's a heck of a lot of it here. If you really do like the olive, there's a heck of a lot of it here, and especially just regular bricks, which is really good for the aftermarket to help bring down the prices by increasing the availability of pieces in less common colors. Now, I don't have the money or the space to collect all things Lego, so I don't have all of the modular buildings to go through spending 10 minutes showing you every possible permutation and combination. Let me show you a couple of other modulars with this. Assembly Square was, of course, the previous largest modular building by far, modular building set by far, because it has multiple buildings and covered the 1.5 base plates. This one is slightly larger. It's more complex, has a few more pieces in it, but overall sizes kind of vary a little bit because you've got higher actual building, actual roof here, but then you've got smaller areas for each of those. And the center building is all the way back at the very backmost stud of the base plate, but then the others are in a little bit farther than this. Overall, you get, I think, a little bit more mass here. And then here with the Jazz Club is just a recent normal sized modular on just a single base plate. If you want to see all the permutations and combinations possible, just Google it real quick. There are a ton of folks out there who have done. I would not recommend looking at videos for it. I recommend just looking up pictures and blogs and places that have just given you a ton of pictures so you can see exactly what you want without having to scroll through, without having to deal with extra ads and stuff. Just go get exactly what you want. Folks have done it, including showing corners and switching things back and forth and everything. That work has been done. But I personally feel like this actually does fit in better than I was expecting. I was a little bit worried that it was going to be overwhelming on a block. I was worried that the Natural History Museum, being so rectangular, decently tall, but also fully, edge to edge with that same height, was just going to overwhelm everything else. And it doesn't. Even putting, intentionally putting the Jazz Club on this side with the smaller section, the pizzeria section, which is so much lower, right up against this, it still feels natural enough to me that I think the Lego designers actually still know what they're doing for the most part. Not everybody's going to agree with that, and that's okay. But just my own personal opinion is that this does fit into a modular layout just fine. And as usual, it's not going to fit into every possible layout, but and combination, for everybody. What I do especially like about this one, though, relative to others for placing it in different ways, is that if you do have to leave one side completely blank, completely open and exposed, if this has to be at a corner or something, it doesn't look bad. If you need to leave this side completely exposed, it doesn't look bad. If you need to put it in a place where you're seeing it from behind, that doesn't look bad either. It doesn't really have a camera unfriendly side. It's just that everything other than the front is a little bit plain, which is not a bad compromise. All in all, this is good. I would go so far as to say it's very good. It's better than I thought it was going to be. Expensive, yes. Interior, a letdown for me. Not the highest priority for me, though. Thankfully, for folks who are really looking for a nice, warm, and complete interior with a good amount of density, this probably isn't going to do it for you. You will probably be more disappointed than even I was, and even than I was able to communicate in this review, especially with the upper floor here. It's just so barren. It reminds me of like Pet Shop with how empty in the upper floors in there. That's the kind of feeling that I got from it, which might be a little bit unfair, but I'm just telling you how I feel. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope that you enjoyed this review. I, of course, will be bringing you more reviews on this channel, continuing to do more live builds over on Twitch. And yeah, always got infinite amounts of stuff to do. So thank you for your patience. Take care, and I'll talk to you again soon.